Captain Elara Reeves stood at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel Emissary, her emerald eyes scanning the massive crystalline structure that housed the Galactic Consortium headquarters. The structure floated in the neutral space of the Centauri expanse, its shimmering spires representing the unified governance of over 500 spacefaring civilizations. Behind her, Earth's small delegation prepared for the quarterly summit, entirely unaware that this day would forever alter humanity's place among the stars. "Captain, we've received an urgent request for your presence in Chamber 42, Lieutenant Chen said, her voice pulling Elara from her contemplation. "Counselor Vrax specifically asked for you. Something about provisional membership concerns." Elara nodded, smoothing the front of her Navy uniform with its silver Earth insignia. After 15 years of provisional membership in the consortium, humanity still struggled to secure full status. Most elder species viewed humans as unpredictable newcomers, too aggressive, too innovative, and far too quick to advance technologically. "Did Vrax mention what type of concerns?" she asked, already moving toward the door. "No, ma'am. Just that it's urgent and confidential." Vrax represented the Felorians, one of the few consortium species that had consistently supported humanity's integration. The reptilian diplomat had been Earth's strongest advocate, arguing that human innovation could benefit the entire galactic community. Chamber 42 wasn't on the main concourse. Elara followed a series of increasingly narrow corridors, her military instincts growing more alert with each turn. When she finally arrived, the chamber was dimly lit and empty except for a single data terminal glowing in the center. "Counselor Vrax," she called out, her hand instinctively moving toward the ceremonial sidearm at her hip. The terminal activated at her approach, projecting a holographic document labeled Classified. "Security Council Directive 5591. As Elara began reading, her blood ran cold. It wasn't just a document, it was an extinction order. The file detailed plans for what the consortium called the Human Containment Initiative. Humanity had been secretly classified as a Category 1 evolutionary threat due to their unprecedented technological acceleration and biological predisposition toward territorial expansion. The document outlined a three-phase approach: isolation, resource deprivation, and finally, selective elimination of major population centers to reduce humanity to a manageable primitive state. "It's worse than I feared." Elara spun around, weapon drawn, to find Vrax emerging from a hidden alcove, his scaled skin reflecting the terminal's blue light. "What is this?" she demanded, not lowering her weapon. "The Security Council's final recommendation, approved last cycle." The Felorian's secondary eyelids flickered, a sign of extreme distress in his species. "I only discovered it yesterday. They're beginning implementation today." Today, Elara's mind raced. "We need to warn Earth." The station's ambient lighting suddenly shifted to crimson, and an announcement in the consortium's official language echoed through the corridors. "What's happening?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "They've declared a Class 1 biological hazard originating from human colonies." Vrax moved closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "It's their pretext for establishing a containment perimeter. But there is no biological hazard." "No," Vrax confirmed grimly. "The quarantine fleet is armed for orbital bombardment." Elara activated her communicator only to find all channels jammed. "I need to get back to my ship. Take this." Vrax pressed a crystal key into her palm. "It will give you access to the diplomatic service corridors. Your ship is in Bay 9, but security will be monitoring the main passages." "Why are you helping us?" Elara asked, studying the alien's face. "Because genocide is never the answer to fear," he replied simply. "Now go. I'll create a diversion at the security checkpoint." The service corridors were narrow and poorly lit, designed for maintenance drones rather than humanoids. Twice Elara had to flatten herself against walls as security teams rushed past. The consortium station had transformed from a diplomatic hub to a military command center within minutes. When she finally reached her ship, Her small crew was already on high alert. "Captain, thank God," her pilot, Commander Jackson, exclaimed. "We've lost all official channels to Earth and the colonies. The consortium's denying all departure requests." "Prepare for immediate departure," Ilara ordered, transferring the stolen data to the ship's secure system. "Emergency protocols." "But Captain, they're not granting clearance." "We're leaving anyway." Now, as the emissary disengaged from the dock, alarms blared throughout the station. Through the viewports, Ilara watched dozens of consortium warships activating, forming into battle groups. "Set course for New Terra colony," she ordered. "Maximum speed." New Terra was humanity's largest off-Earth settlement, home to over 12 million people and the center of human manufacturing outside the Sol system. As the emissary entered FTL travel, Ilara reviewed the stolen files, her horror growing with each page. The consortium hadn't just planned containment. They had voted for systematic reduction of the human population to pre-industrial levels. 5 hours later, they dropped out of FTL on the edge of the New Terra system and immediately detected the energy signatures of multiple consortium warships. "They're already here," Jackson whispered. "Get me visual," Ilara ordered, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her throat. The main screen activated, revealing a nightmare. Consortium ships surrounded the colony, their weapons already firing. New Terra's orbital defense platforms, their primary protection, were shattered, drifting as debris. On the planet's surface, bright flashes marked the impact points of kinetic bombardment. "Are they targeting military installations?" Lieutenant Chen asked, her voice breaking. Ilara couldn't speak. The targeting was precise and methodical. The consortium ships were deliberately striking population centers one after another. "We're being hailed by a consortium vessel," the communications officer reported. "Ignore it," Ilara said. "Maintain our position just beyond their sensor range." For 20 minutes, they watched in horrified silence as New Terra burned. Occasional emergency transmissions broke through the jamming. Desperate pleas for help, confused questions about why the consortium ships were firing, the screams of the dying. "Captain," Jackson finally said, "we can't help them. Not with one ship." Ilara knew he was right. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed. We need to warn them before the consortium ships arrive." As they prepared to jump to FTL, a massive consortium dreadnought appeared directly in their path, weapons charged. "Evasive maneuvers," Ilara shouted. Their smaller ship dove beneath the dreadnought's firing arc, engines straining as Jackson executed a series of random jumps to throw off pursuit. Through skill and desperation, they managed to break away from the consortium forces, but not before catching one final glimpse of New Terra. From orbit, the colony that had been humanity's greatest achievement resembled a burning ember, its cities transformed into craters, its atmosphere filled with smoke. The consortium ships were methodically working their way across the planet's surface, ensuring nothing survived. "Initial casualty estimates," Chen reported, voice breaking, "are at least 8 million dead and rising." Ilara gripped the command chair, her knuckles white. Similar massacres would be happening at 7 other colonies, millions of lives extinguished without warning or mercy. "Record everything," she ordered. "Every sensor reading, every transmission. Earth needs to know exactly what happened here." She paused, looking at the devastation one final time before they jumped to FTL. "And the consortium needs to learn that humanity doesn't fall easily." The emissary limped into Earth's orbit 3 days later, battle-scarred from 2 more encounters with consortium patrols. They had managed to outrun or outfight their pursuers, but not without cost. 5 crew members were dead, and the ship's propulsion system was failing. Earth's defense forces surrounded them immediately, weapons locked on. "This is Admiral Zhao of Earth Defense Command. Identify yourself and state your purpose." "This is Captain Ilara Reeves of the diplomatic vessel Emissary," she responded, her voice hoarse from days without sleep. "Authorization code Sierra. Echo Victor Echo November." Admiral, Earth is in imminent danger. The consortium has attacked our colonies. There was a long pause before Admiral Zhao responded, his voice grim. We know, Captain. We've been receiving fragmented distress calls for the past 72 hours. Report to Defense Headquarters immediately. The Situation Room at Earth Defense Headquarters was in controlled chaos. Massive screens displayed the status of human colonies across known space. Most were marked with flashing red indicators, lost contact. Others showed confirmed attack signatures. 8 billion dead, General Santos said without preamble as Ilara entered. The older woman's face was drawn, her eyes hollow. That's our current estimate across all colonies. Only the smallest outposts and research stations remain unaccounted for. They might have escaped detection. Ilara transferred the stolen data to the central system. It was planned, General. The consortium classified humanity as an evolutionary threat and voted for our containment. Containment? Santos spat the word. They're committing genocide. Why hasn't Earth been attacked? Someone asked. Admiral Zhao stepped forward. We believe it's because our planetary defense network is significantly stronger than our colonies. They're isolating us, cutting us off from our resources and population centers before they attempt a direct assault. Then we have time, Ilara said. Time to prepare, to evacuate who we can from the remaining outposts. And to make them pay, Santos added coldly. The next week passed in a blur of emergency measures. Earth's population was placed on war footing, industrial centers converted to military production, civilian spaces transformed into refugee processing centers for the trickle of survivors who managed to escape the slaughter. Ilara found herself promoted to Commodore and given command of a rapid response fleet, 20 ships tasked with evacuating the remaining human outposts before the consortium found them. It was during one such evacuation that they made their first real strike back. The research outpost on Uraba had already been evacuated when consortium scouts arrived. Instead of finding helpless scientists, they encountered Ilara's ambush. 3 human destroyers emerged from behind Jupiter's massive bulk, weapons blazing. The engagement was brief and devastating. All 4 consortium vessels destroyed without a single human casualty. It wasn't a significant victory in the grand scheme, but it was something. Proof that humanity could fight back, that they weren't helpless victims awaiting execution. When they recovered the data cores from the destroyed ships, Earth's scientists made a crucial discovery. The consortium's technology, which had always seemed so advanced, had a fundamental vulnerability when exposed to human neural patterns. It's actually rather elegant, Dr. Maya Potil explained during the briefing. Their technology is partly organic, designed to respond to their telepathic commands. But human brainwaves interact with it in entirely unexpected ways. We're essentially bypassing their security protocols without even trying. Can we exploit this? Ilara asked. Dr. Patil smiled for the first time since the massacre began. We already are. Project Phoenix is underway. As Ilara left the briefing, she paused at a viewport overlooking the vast defensive array now surrounding Earth, humanity's last fortress. In the 3 weeks since the attacks began, the shock and horror had crystallized into something else. Cold, righteous fury. The consortium had made a catastrophic mistake. They thought they were eliminating a potential threat. Instead, they had created an actual one. Humanity would not go quietly into extinction. They would fight with everything they had. And thanks to Project Phoenix, they now had a way to turn the consortium's own technology against them. The war for survival had only just begun. 6 months had passed since the day that became known simply as the betrayal. Commodore Ilara Reeves stood in the command center of Phoenix Base, a massive facility constructed inside the hollowed-out asteroid series. The walls were lined with repurposed consortium technology, screens displaying tactical data from across the solar system and beyond. Personnel moved with practiced efficiency, their faces bearing the unmistakable mark of survivors, determined, focused, and haunted. Status report, Ilara ordered, her voice carrying the weight of command that had been thrust upon her after most of Earth's senior military leadership had been killed during a peace summit that turned into an ambush. "Perimeter defenses are holding," Commander Jackson replied. Once her pilot, he now served as her XO. The past 6 months had left visible marks on him. A facial scar from a consortium energy weapon and premature gray streaking his dark hair. Terra Nova Squadron reports successful evacuation of the Proxima outpost. 37 survivors recovered. 37. Once, they would have considered such a small number a tragedy. Now, it was counted as a victory. Every human life saved was a triumph against extinction. "Any signs of pursuit?" Ilara asked. "None. Captain Rivera used the Jovian maneuver. They'll reach rendezvous point in approximately 18 hours. The Jovian maneuver, named after its creator, a young lieutenant who had discovered that human ships could use Jupiter's magnetosphere to mask their FTL signatures from consortium sensors. Another example of the innovation born from desperate survival. Dr. Maya Patil entered the command center, her lab coat rumpled from what was likely days of continuous work. The scientist's discovery of human neural patterns' unique interaction with consortium tech had given humanity its only real advantage in this war. "Commodore, Project Phoenix just achieved another breakthrough," she announced, unable to contain her excitement despite the exhaustion evident on her face. "Show me," Ilara said, following the scientist to a secure laboratory section. Inside, technicians monitored a captured consortium scout ship suspended in a massive dock. Unlike the sleek silver vessels Ilara had known before the war, this one had been modified. Its organic components now interfaced with human technology in ways that would have been unimaginable months earlier. "We finally cracked their command structure," Dr. Patil explained, gesturing to a neural interface helmet connected to what appeared to be the ship's control system. "With this interface, human pilots can not only fly their vessels, but access functions the consortium doesn't even know exist." "How is that possible?" Ilara asked. "Their technology evolves organically over time, with new systems built atop older ones," Maya explained. "The telepathic interfaces they use only activate the functions they're familiar with. But human neural patterns trigger unexpected activations. We're accessing forgotten protocols and emergency overrides that have been buried in their systems for centuries." Ilara studied the modified ship. "Can we replicate this?" "We already are. Operation Thunderstrike is ready." The name sent a chill down Ilara's spine. Thunderstrike wasn't just another evacuation mission or defensive maneuver. It was humanity's first major offensive operation since the betrayal. "The Security Council has approved it?" she asked. "Unanimously," Maya confirmed. "We launch in 72 hours. The consortium monitoring station orbiting Ta City was considered impregnable, protected by energy shields and a fleet of patrol vessels. It coordinated all consortium operations in the sector, including the ongoing hunt for human survivors. It never detected the 6 human vessels approaching under perfect sensor camouflage, modified consortium ships piloted by humans wearing neural interface helmets. Approaching outer defense perimeter, Lieutenant Sophia Dias reported from the lead ship, her mind partially merged with the vessel's organic systems. "Their automated recognition protocols are accepting our signatures." Admiral Zhao's voice came through the secure channel. "Remember, people, this is not just about destroying a target. Project Phoenix needs that central data core intact." Ilara, commanding one of the strike vessels, acknowledged the order. This mission had 2 objectives: cripple a major consortium command node and extract critical intelligence from its databases. The 6 vessels slipped past the outer defenses unchallenged, their consortium signatures masking their true nature. It was only when they reached the station itself that the deception would become impossible to maintain. "All ships, initiate Phase 2, Ilara ordered as they approached the docking facilities. The modified vessels simultaneously unleashed weapons fire at precisely calculated weak points in the station's shield grid. The unexpected attack from apparently friendly ships created momentary gaps in the defenses, gaps the human strike teams exploited immediately. Ilara led her team through the emergency airlock, neural interface helmet allowing her to bypass security lockdowns that would have trapped any other boarding party. The consortium personnel they encountered were completely unprepared. Most had never faced actual combat, having relied on automated defenses for generations. Command center secured. Jackson reported over the comm as his team took control of the station's nerve center, initiating data extraction. Maya's voice came through next. Engineering team in position. We're accessing their primary systems now. Everything was proceeding according to plan until an alarm Ilara didn't recognize began blaring through the station. "What is that?" she demanded. "Unknown," Maya responded, her voice tense. "It's not in any of the consortium protocols we've documented." A new voice broke into their communications, the unmistakable multitonal speech of a consortium elder. "Humans, you believe yourselves clever, using our technology against us. This facility has been waiting for you." Ilara's blood went cold. "It's a trap. All teams, emergency extraction protocol." But the station was already responding, corridors sealing, atmospheric pressure fluctuating wildly. Through her neural interface, Ilara could feel the station's systems actively fighting against her commands, adapting to her attempts to bypass them. "Maya, what's happening?" she demanded. "They've implemented some kind of adaptive defense," the scientist replied. Her voice strained as she fought to maintain her neural connection. "It's learning from our patterns, countering our access." This was a devastating development. If the consortium had found a way to protect their systems against human neural patterns, humanity's only real advantage would be negated. "Do we have the data?" Ilara asked Jackson. "Partial download. Maybe 60%. That will have to be enough. Set the charges. We're leaving." As her team fought their way back to the extraction point, Ilara caught glimpses of unusual movement through the station's viewports. Consortium vessels arriving, but not the standard patrol craft they'd encountered before. These were different. Darker, more organic looking, almost predatory in their design. "New contacts," Sophia reported from her ship. "They're not registering as any known consortium classification." "The hunter-killers have arrived," the elder's voice announced, satisfaction evident despite the alien tonality. "Specifically evolved to track and eliminate human neural signatures. You cannot hide from them." They barely made it back to their ships, losing 8 team members in the retreat. As they disengaged from the station, the new consortium vessels, the hunter-killers, moved to intercept. "Evasive pattern Delta," Ilara ordered. "Make for the jump point." The hunter-killers pursued with uncanny precision, seemingly able to predict their evasion tactics. 2 human ships were destroyed before they reached the jump point, their crews lost. The remaining 4 escaped, but the victory they had hoped for had turned into a costly lesson. The consortium was adapting. "They're specifically evolving technology to counter us," Dr. Paddle explained during the debriefing back at Phoenix Base. "These hunter-killers represent a significant escalation in their strategy." Admiral Zhao nodded grimly. "What's in the data we managed to extract?" Maya activated a holographic display showing consortium fleet movements and deployment patterns. "They're concentrating their forces for a major operation. Based on these trajectories, we believe they're preparing for a final assault on Earth." The room fell silent. Despite their efforts, despite the evacuations and guerrilla tactics, it had always been leading to this moment. The consortium would not consider their human containment initiative complete until Earth itself was neutralized. "Timeline?" Zhao asked. 3 weeks, possibly less. Ilara studied the projected attack vectors. "Their forces are substantial, but they're drawing resources from across their territory to make this happen. That's leaving other sectors vulnerable." "Vulnerable to what?" Jackson asked. "We don't have enough ships to launch a meaningful counteroffensive." "No," Ilara agreed. "But we're not the only ones with grievances against the consortium." She gestured to another section of the data, which showed internal consortium communications. Look at these reports. 15 member species have officially protested the action against humanity. 3 have threatened to withdraw from the consortium entirely. Potential allies. Zhao mused. Better than that, Ilara said. Potential revolutionaries. The consortium's unity is fracturing. Their leadership pushed for our elimination because they feared our unpredictability, our rapid advancement. But in doing so, they've demonstrated a ruthlessness that's making their own members nervous. After all, if they would exterminate humans today, who might they target tomorrow? Maya scrolled through more data. She's right. There's significant unrest, especially among the newer member species. The Felorians in particular have been vocal in their opposition. Counselor Vrax, Ilara said softly, remembering the alien who had risked everything to warn her. Is there any indication he survived the purge of human sympathizers? Yes, Maya confirmed, highlighting the communications node. He appears to be leading an underground resistance movement within the consortium itself. Admiral Zhao stood, his decision made. We have 3 weeks to turn the consortium against itself. Commodore Reeves, assemble a team. You're going back into consortium space, not to fight, but to foment rebellion. The refugee ship Hope's Horizon drifted into the Rigel trading post, it hull scared and systems barely functioning. To all appearances, just another vessel carrying the pitiful remnants of humanity's colonies. The consortium guards performed only a cursory inspection before allowing it to dock, their contempt for the defeated humans evident in their dismissive gestures. They never thought to question why a refugee ship would come to a consortium outpost. Of all places, they never noticed that the supposedly traumatized humans moved with disciplined precision once out of sight, or that their seemingly random wanderings through the trading post followed a carefully planned pattern. Ilara, disguised as a civilian medic, made her way to the central communications hub. Using credentials hidden in the data they'd stolen, she uploaded a package to the consortium's internal network. Not a virus or sabotage program, but the truth. Unedited footage of the massacre at New Terra, internal consortium communications discussing the elimination of problematic species, and evidence of atrocities committed not just against humans, but against any consortium members who opposed the genocide. Simultaneously, across the trading post, her team was making contact with representatives of the 15 dissenting species, providing them with direct neural interface technology that would protect their communications from consortium monitoring. You understand what you're asking, the Felorian diplomat said when Ilara finally met with him in a secure location. Open rebellion against the consortium would mean civil war. The war has already begun, Ilara replied. The only question is whether your people will be next after ours are gone. The Felorian's secondary eyelids flickered rapidly. The elders claim humans were planning to overthrow the consortium, that your technological advancement posed an existential threat. We were 15 years into provisional membership, Ilara countered. We were still learning to navigate your politics, still adapting our technology to be compatible with yours. We weren't a threat. We were potential allies who thought differently. And that was your true crime. Came a new voice as Counselor Vrax himself emerged from the shadows, his once vibrant scales now dull from months in hiding. You thought differently. The consortium has existed for 20,000 years, with minimal evolution in its power structures. Then humans arrive, advancing in decades what took other species centuries, asking questions no one had thought to ask in millennia. He moved closer, his voice lowering. They feared you not because you threatened violence, but because you threatened stagnation. Your existence forced change, and the elders would rather commit genocide than adapt. We cannot match their military strength, the diplomat warned. You don't need to, Ilara said. Not if enough species stand together. The hunter-killers and the extermination fleets represent a massive resource commitment. If multiple consortium members simultaneously withdraw support and resources, internal collapse. Vrax finished for her. It could work, but the timing would need to be perfect. 3 weeks, Ilara told him. That's when they plan to attack Earth. Vrax's eyes widened. So soon. He turned to the diplomat. Spread the word through the secure channels. All 15 species must be ready to act simultaneously when the signal comes. What signal? The diplomat asked. Vrax looked at Ilara. Humanity will need to do something so dramatic, so unmistakable, that it gives our allies the courage to act. Don't worry, Ilara said with grim determination. We have something in mind. 2 weeks later, as the consortium assembled its largest battle fleet in centuries for the final assault on Earth, humanity launched its desperate gambit. Not at Earth, but at the very heart of consortium power, their central command station in the Centauri expanse, the same massive structure where Ilara had first learned of the planned genocide. The attack came not from human ships, which would have been detected and intercepted, but from within. Over the past months, human operatives had infiltrated the station's maintenance and service ranks, bringing with them modified neural interfaces and a plan so audacious it bordered on insanity. At precisely the moment when the extermination fleet prepared to depart for Earth, every system on the consortium command station suddenly came under human control. Doors sealed, trapping the elders in their chambers. Communication arrays broadcast the evidence of their atrocities to every corner of consortium space. And most critically, command codes for the assembled fleet were locked, preventing their departure. From Phoenix Base, Ilara watched the operation unfold through secure channels, hardly daring to breathe as the most crucial phase began. One by one, the representatives of the 15 dissenting species made their declarations, formally withdrawing from the consortium and demanding the immediate dissolution of the Elder Council for crimes against sentient beings. The consortium forces at the command station found themselves facing not just human resistance, but open rebellion from within their own ranks, as ships from the dissenting species turned their weapons on the extermination fleet. It's working, Jackson whispered as they watched the consortium forces fracture, confusion spreading through their perfectly ordered battle plans. What followed wasn't a decisive battle, but something more profound. The beginning of the collapse of an institution that had dominated galactic politics for 20 millennia. As fighting erupted between loyal consortium forces and the rebels, the carefully constructed narrative of human aggression crumbled under the weight of truth. 3 days later, a Felurian diplomatic vessel arrived at Earth, carrying Counselor Vrax and representatives from the other rebelling species. They came not to continue the war, but to propose a new beginning. A galactic alliance founded on principles of diversity and mutual respect rather than conformity and control. This is not the end, Vrax told the assembled human leadership as the peace talks began. The loyal consortium forces are regrouping. There will be more fighting before this is truly over. But we won't be fighting alone, Ilara observed. No, the Felurian agreed. Never again will you stand alone among the stars. As the negotiations continued, Ilara found a quiet moment to stand at a viewport overlooking Earth, still intact, still free, its people bloodied but unbroken. The path ahead would be difficult. Rebuilding the devastated colonies, integrating with their new allies, preparing for the continuation of the conflict with consortium loyalists, all enormous challenges. But humanity had survived its darkest hour. They had faced extinction and refused to accept it. They had turned their greatest vulnerability, their difference from the established galactic order, into their greatest strength. The consortium had sought to eliminate humanity because they feared what humans might become. In doing so, they had ensured that their fear became reality. Forged in the fire of genocide, humanity emerged not broken, but transformed, a force for change in a galaxy that had remained static for too long. And as the stars shone down on a planet that had come so close to joining the graveyard of extinct civilizations, one truth became abundantly clear: humanity would never allow itself to be vulnerable again. The species that had nearly been erased would now help write a new chapter in galactic history, one where diversity was strength, adaptation was celebrated, and no power, no matter how ancient, could ever again decide which sentient beings deserved to exist. The war wasn't over, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity would survive, and the stars themselves would never be the same.